This is the donor truck for the 80 Series Land Cruiser. Let's get started. This is a 2001 Silverado 2500 HD with the LQ4 6-liter paired with a 4L80E. Stock power levels are around 330 horsepower and 370 foot-pounds of torque from the factory, which is quite the upgrade from the 200 horsepower and 270-ish torque, if we're being generous, from the 1FZ that came with the Land Cruiser. The best part is that I won this truck at auction for only $600. Hold on, pause the video. You can get the headlights out of these with no tools. I mean, look how easy this is. Come on, Toyota, you gotta think of something that simple. Maybe they do. I just work on old ones. If you're not in the LS world, all of the different engine names and identifications can get confusing, so basically what this means is that it's a Gen 3 LS series truck engine. The trucks came with either a 4.8, a 5.3, or a 6.0, and they came in all sorts of different variants and configurations, and for the most part, all of these engines share interchangeable parts, giving them endless ways to upgrade and modify them. Now, if you're wondering why I went with a Gen 3 and a 4L80, well, the main reason is because the truck was only $600. And the Land Cruiser was already a 4-speed before, and I wasn't complaining then, so I don't think I'm really going to care about it now. And of course, you know, I would have preferred a Gen 4 with a 6-speed or an LT1 with a 10-speed, you know, that'd be awesome, but I'd prefer to just keep the swap realistic. Going crazy with a swap can easily land you in the $20,000 and up range, especially if you're buying everything new. I like that the path that we're taking here is to keep things simple, and if we ever want a 6-speed in the future, there are modern solutions from Holley and other companies where we can mate a 6L80 to my Gen 3 engine. The engine is out, and man, I can't lie to you guys, that was not a fun one. I don't know why. There's a lot of room in there. It was just really annoying to pull this thing out. So now what we got to do is we got to separate the transmission from the engine so we can get this thing on a stand. We got to clean up our mess. Looks like a crime scene in here. And we are getting a bunch of free gas out of this thing too, since for whatever reason, Chevy decided to run the fuel lines on the transmission. I mean, and the whole harness is like connected to the rest of the body, which I thought was weird too, but first time LS things, I guess. Let's get this thing on the stand. Transmission came off quicker than I expected, so I missed recording it, but here you can watch me take off a flex plate.
Put our money I'm not going to race a domestic car, you know. We were overnighting the turbo kits. That's 35 and 40,000 miles, and they were making like 400 horsepower. Boom.
Oh, that was a lot of work. Whew, that's a big motor. Nice. This engine actually ran pretty well and had good power, and I even drove it home from the auction, but it still has 271,000 miles on it, so I definitely want to take a look inside and give it a refresh. I'm really trying to stay away from a machine shop level rebuild, especially since I just spent a bunch of money getting the 2JZ machine for my Supra, and I'm hoping that this engine has good cylinders and journals where we can just re-ring it, install new bearings, replace the gaskets, and be good to go. But we all know that that rabbit hole goes deep, so we'll see. Well, we have the engine about as stripped down as we need to have it to start pressure washing and cleaning this thing up. You can tell the engine actually isn't that dirty. We have some residue here on the cylinder head area, but if you look at the cylinder block, it's actually in really good shape. Doesn't look like we ever leaked from the oil pan or any areas basically lower than the valve cover or the valley cover. I think that's probably where most of this oil residue is from. Maybe a little bit from like the cam sensor or the crank sensor or something, but for the most part, it looks like we're very contained to where we were leaking from to be from the valve covers or the valley cover. Now, that doesn't mean the engine is in great condition. We did drive it home, but we're not gonna know how this thing looks until we tear it down. But to do that, we do have to pressure wash it and get it all nice and clean. So let's go ahead and do that now. It's starting to look like an engine shop in here. We got too many projects, too many things to do. Normally when I clean parts, I go completely overboard and I get them as clean as I possibly can, but with this engine, it's gonna get torn down anyway. I'm probably gonna swap out the cylinder heads. I definitely have to swap out the oil pan for the swap, and it wasn't worth it to me to just spend hours and hours and hours to get all this baked on grease off of this thing. I just wanted it clean enough to where it wasn't miserable taking it apart. Well, I didn't think we'd be making this much progress in this video, but we're about to test fit this engine in the Land Cruiser. Now, there are many ways that we could mount this in the Land Cruiser, but let me show you what I decided to go with. I was gonna go through and try to make my own mounts, but I've decided, because it is a Land Cruiser, I want to try to keep this thing as reversible as possible. If I ever sell this truck and someone wants to go back to a 1FZ, that's where I want to keep this truck. So I bought these mounts here from Selkirk Offroad, and what's awesome about these is they are just going to bolt straight up to the LS engine here, and we're going to be able to drop this motor into the Land Cruiser right now and test fit it and see how everything goes. Now, these do use an energy suspension, what looks like a shackle polyurethane bushing as the actual isolator in the mount. There is a sleeve inside of there as well that this bolt goes through. And then I also got their transmission mount here. They were kind enough to send this out for free after I bought these mounts and they saw the YouTube channel. So huge shout out to Selkirk Offroad, aka the Land Cruiser shop. I'll get this thing unwrapped to show it to you guys as well. And yeah, we're gonna put this other motor mount here together and we're going to drop this thing into that thing. The time you save buying a mounting kit that's already done is well worth the money spent. If you've ever done an engine swap where you're pairing a different manufacturer's engine into your chassis, you completely understand this. It is a whole bunch of installing, removing, checking clearances, modifying the mount, cutting, welding, and then doing that again 10 times, if not more, in order to get it right where you need it to be. So it made complete sense to me to buy mounts that were already designed around a Gen 3 LS with a 4L80 in an 80 series Land Cruiser. I mean, what are the odds of that? It was built around my exact engine setup. Not to mention, this is a local company to me out here in Idaho, and I'm happy to support and work with them. Having a little bit of issues getting it in there with the driver's side exhaust manifold on, so I'm gonna pop that thing off. I don't know if I need to change these out for a maybe set of block huggers or a different set of factory manifolds, but these are just not fitting very well, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that off. Should be good now. Let's go ahead and drop this thing down very slowly. There we go. Let's go ahead and bolt this thing in. We'll straighten it out. We'll bolt it in. Get some lines out of the way. Well, here is our first look at the 6-liter in the Land Cruiser. for the most part, fits in there really, really well. It's kind of funny. There's some things that you have so much more space compared to the 1FZ, like the front of the engine. It feels like there's a lot more space in there because the LS is shorter, but the LS being, you know, a V8, there's a lot less room width-wise because it's such a wider motor. So you see, normally on the 1FZ, we only have to run an exhaust over here, but now we have to run an exhaust over here too, the exhaust manifold, and there's a decent amount of room in there, but on the other hand, there's also not. We have to clear the steering shaft. We have to probably make new fuel lines for it if I had to guess. Amongst some other things, we're gonna just have to run a really tight block hugger or some sort of factory manifold that sits really close to the block. Two other things that I noticed is that the AC compressor is almost touching the frame, but it's not. You can just see light right there between where the lines would go in the frame, but I have seen people have to notch their frame pretty regularly with this swap for the AC to work. If you guys have done the swap, let me know, but I'm pretty sure that has to happen sometimes. And then the power steering pump on this engine is from a Hydro Boost model, so we are gonna have to swap that out. And then of course, all the normal LS stuff too, when it comes to swaps, like the oil pan is not gonna fit. It's going to hit the drive line, as you can see there. That's normal. Everyone swaps those out for either a Holley pan or I believe a Camaro pan. And then we might run a Trailblazer SS intake on here, but the truck intake might be fine. I think I want to swap out the 317 heads. Joe over at Selkirk Offroad, the people that made the mounts and that beautiful airbox, are working on a budget accessory drive setup that I'll make sure to share with you guys. And one last thing is the airbox, which you guys may have noticed in previous clips, but this is for the LS swap. We have an aluminum airbox here. It takes a K&N filter, fits right in the factory location, and will let the LS breathe and plumbs straight in to the LS intake. So this is gonna make things really nice and easy. The last thing we're gonna do to wrap this video up is install these really cool billet grab handles that a member from the Mud Forum board sent me. His name is Anarchy, and I'm always down to showcase cool products on the channel. These definitely fall into that bucket, so if you guys are interested in picking up a cool set of billet grab handles for your 80 series, go ahead and check out Anarchy on the I Hate Mud Forum board. But let's go ahead and get these installed.